Good evening. As each day passes, the reality of what our community faces is becoming clear. Our students will experience many impacting changes with this transition, and the Board of Education should do all that it can to limit stress for the students and prepare them for their new challenges. For East students, one of the biggest changes will be attending high school with many more students. According to the Board of Education, East will have approximately 700 more students than Central next fall. The total number of students attending each school is irrelevant. What matters is the difference between their enrollments. Clearly, the enrollment gap was a concern for some board members during the discussions on which school to close. To quote Dee Molinari on August 1st, in looking at balancing among schools, it works best by boundary lines. It's the best way to balance our schools so we can move forward, unquote. But it was decided that keeping feeder schools together was more important than balancing enrollments. This board decision is truly harmful to the students attending East next fall, and quite frankly, it is completely unnecessary and should be reconsidered by the board immediately. I can appreciate the pressure surrounding the decision to close a school and all the time that was spent on that process. However, this is something that you have to get right. Significantly limiting opportunities of students on the east side of the district is not fair, and not something this board should turn a blind eye to. As I mentioned earlier, the board enrollments show that next fall's enrollment gap between East and Central is approximately 700. But there are three factors that the board did not consider that will increase this gap further. Number one, freshman class enrollments increase from previous year 8th grade enrollments. Number two, district population growth is increasing faster on the east side. And number three, Mokina families are desperate to keep their students at East. Data proves that freshman enrollments increase from their 8th grade enrollments. This is probably attributed to families pulling out of private education and enrolling their child in a public high school. Simply put, the net increase in the number of students from Summit Hill and Hickory Creek that feed East will be greater than the net increase in the number of students from Martino and Mokina that feed Central. Add 10 to 15 students per year, this one factor increases the gap by 40 to 60 students by 2019. Contrary to board use data, district population is increasing at a faster rate on the east side of the district. As pointed out during the previous public comment, Glenn Arnold articulated how the east side's availability of more affordable housing and location proximity to the economic hub of Chicago is fueling turnover and population growth. In fact, student growth from recently obtained ISBE feeder school enrollment data proves this, with increases of 128 more future students for East. Central showed an increase of only 19 students from the same data. As you know, some Mokina families are very concerned with their transition to Central. There is talk in the community that there are some families desperate enough to rent apartments, move in with grandma, or transfer guardianship of their child to Uncle Joe. This should not be taken lightly. Although temporary, if only 20 students accomplish this increases the enrollment gap by another 40 students next fall. Each of these three factors alone are a small percentage of the 700 enrollment gap. However, taken together, they significantly contribute to the already unfair difference between the two schools. The resources of East and Central are the same. Each school has similar size capacities, similar cafeterias, similar libraries and auditoriums, similar parking, and similar athletic resources. It is also true that each school will have equal participation opportunities for athletics and activities and corresponding equal leadership availability. All things equal, East students are penalized. During August 1st discussions regarding school closure, Ron Lulo spoke of this, quote, "Moving forward, it's not fair that they would have more opportunities being in a smaller school, smaller setting," unquote. In addition to the obvious limitations for East students, there are other concerns. Each school will not be subjected to the same level of transition chaos. This will be unavoidable the first year. East sees an increase of over 35% in its student population, while Central will see a much more manageable increase of just 15%. Surely this will stress the process and flow at East more than Central. In addition to transition chaos, East students will be subjected to transportation issues, including limited parking, heavier busing, and long delays for morning drop-offs and after-school pickups. Hallways will be crowded with many hundreds of more students.
1 minute.
Class sizes will be impacted and course offerings will be affected. What about healthcare support staff? Will each student have equal access to a school nurse or school psychological counseling services? Many students will be unable to participate in the programs they are now in due to limitations of opportunities. How will this affect these students? Board member Chris McFadden clearly had a concern about unequal opportunities. From August 13th, quote, "First of all, I do not believe it is fair to have 40% of our students at one school. I don't believe it's fair to have an imbalance of 1,500 students where the kids will be competing for one valedictorian spot, one varsity team, one shot at school president. Next year, East will comprise 41% of the district population. Keeping feeder schools together is clearly harming students from Frankfort Township, and a call for fairness to all 210 students, I respectfully request that the board identify an area of Frankfort 157 population to provide enough students to equalize enrollments."
Thank you, Mr.
Let him
Trost.
finish.
Oh, just let him
Let him
finish.
Just 30
finish.
seconds, please.
Jake Caratolo.